They just have to talk about this. They just have to talk about it.
Check everything out.
Did you watch it? How she comes out? I'm not sure.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, we're meeting at 6:00, 6:05. Citizens are here, the attorney's here. You're here.
We're gonna take the minutes. Just to see if you want. You can call me order. Well, then you get you.
Go ahead and do that.
No, we're waiting on a minute. I need to see it. We didn't need to see it.
We can all sing cats in the cradle.
I guess we can go and just take roll call.
I'm making away from Mississippi.
You need a minute taker.
She's waiting back there. Now we have to go. Because there you go. There you go. See, that's exactly what we're doing.
It's not the first time. It's not the first time.
It's not the first time this has been on the agenda like that, you're wrong.
We've
Not
had to
when
wait.
you've been here.
We've had to wait for you.
Not with an agenda item like that, you went right ahead last week in May.
They already started.
That's enough to your children, I mean.
Okay, all right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. We're gonna call the board of the city of Spencer Special City Council and Utility Authority meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 30th, 2021. The time now is 6:06 p.m. Can we get a roll? And for the record, we will run both meetings concurrently. The Utility Authority and the City Council meeting. Can we get a roll call, call, please.
Mayor Calvin,
Yes. Correct.
Vice Mayor Scanlon.
Here.
Councilmember Fair.
That's not
Councilmember
correct,
Williams.
because she's on the agenda to reappoint. You can't say that you're present, you can't call her agenda when we have the agenda to appoint. If she's not appointed and it's on the agenda to appoint, she wouldn't be able to call for this item. She could after this item when it's properly taken care of for the budget.
Right.
Until the board takes it off, I think she's going to do it.
Yes. Okay.
Councilmember Williams.
I'm here.
Councilmember Candidate.
Here. Y'all, we're gonna have to start calling. I'm telling you, here's it. Not to use it.
We do have a form for item number 3 on our agenda is invitation. And lastly, Ms. Williams is going to give us our invitation this evening, and also Mr. Scanlon will give us our last. Sweet.
Thank you, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you with our heads and our hearts, realizing that you are the creator of all, and it's because of you that we have our being and our breath, everything that we have. I ask a special blessing on everyone here, their households, their families, those who are on their way, those who wanted to be here and could not, and those who are going to be watching by whatever means they're going to be watching. Heavenly Father, we ask that your perfect will be done. Let us, as a council, seek to do your will, to serve your people, that we can incur your blessings on the charge that you've given us. It's in the Son, Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move to our business agenda. Item number 4.1, Bonita Fair issue discussion and action for council to take a vote to appoint the proper vote. Mr. Jensen, would you like to give a little, give us
Sure, this time, yeah, I think she's on the council until the council decides to vote her off. The first that I need to vote her off, we can go to the ratify all decisions, later back in January. Or you could, I'd like to see you do is put this off and have a special meeting just for this. So you can get on and make the budget pass tonight. It's the deadline. Or you can go to, and the research into the oral opinion.
I make a motion
Wait a minute. No. You're not going to make a motion.
that Mr.
In
Benson,
January, when Mr. Bonita Fair was appointed to the council, there was a vacancy in Ward 2. And the Ward 2 vacancy was supposed to be published to the public, and it may have been, I just never saw it. And in that, when somebody says, I want to serve on Ward 2, the process is supposed to be that the citizens who want to proceed to serve in that ward would bring a letter of intent. We made the Parks Board do it, we've made other boards do it, we've made them put at the very least their information on a piece of paper that says, here's my name, here's my address, here's my phone number, and my email. So that somebody's asking to serve us, and therefore we need to look to see if they actually live in town. I mean, that should be the one thing we check. But there was nothing done like that for Bonita Fair. Because I asked before the meetings for the applications, and the only application I got was from the owner of Mary's Swap Meeting, Mr. Devin. And he provided not only his information, but he provided a letter of application. So then we came to the meeting, and only 3 council people show up. Well, this is a 5-member council, and we're reappointing one, so at that moment, it's a 4-member council. And the only way legally to put somebody on the council at that vote yes. And because I didn't feel like it was proper that one person, if they're evenly matched, and one person had followed procedures in one case, so I voted no. My no should have been the restart, to where at that point, they could have waited until another council member showed up, and then we would have had 4. They could have done several different things, but they didn't do that. They swore her in immediately, and I don't think she was aware. I said I voted no. When I said I voted no, and she sat up here, I did explain again, I did vote no, and nobody wanted to take an issue with us not having the proper number, so they went ahead and just swore her in and put her on the council, and that's not her fault. She is new to this, and so it is not blaming her. She would have probably learned this when she went to the OML training, which there's been 2 since then. But again, it's not her fault. The council members, however, do know that, as well as the city attorney. You can't take votes with 3 members and have 1 no. And this is not going to be the only one to go back on. Whether this changes tonight or not, there's been a whole bunch of votes that happened in the last year that we're going through, and we are going to take issue with it, because it's continually happened.
Okay.
So it's not personal at all.
Okay.
And by ignoring the process, and I'll say one more thing, by ignoring the process and not, if anybody wondered whether or not this was gonna go one way or another tonight, I don't think I knew, but I would say that just by being willing to follow the process and the law, that would have told us exactly what we need to know moving forward. And then the votes would have been there to continue doing like we're doing. But when you're going to ignore the law and the process, that tells us a whole lot about where we're at.
Thank you. This is where we are. The law says that you have to have a majority of council. Majority it does not specify a number. It says majority. It says majority. This is from OML. It says majority. It does not say the number. We conduct business. We've conducted business here with the city, especially with 3 council members. Ms. Candidate has been a part of votes for the time that she's been on council, when there's only been 3 of us present, and she voted in the affirmative in some of those votes. She voted abstain. She voted no. But at the same time, she has voted in that process. So it says the majority, and the quorum, a quorum for us is 3 based on our council makeup. With regards to the vacancy in Ward 2, when that vacancy took place, Ms. Candidate said she did not see a notice. She was one of these persons, and I think she made mention in that council meeting that she asked Mr. Stone if he would want to serve as council member, because him being a businessman, she thought he would bring some experience and some business acumen to our council. So to say that she did not know that the seat was vacant is not.
Was it posted? It's a difference between posted and did I know it was vacant. I knew it was vacant. We all knew it was vacant. Being posted, however, for all the citizens.
Please, ma'am, please speak.
No, we're not gonna just do this. Now, he's made a little section here that Ray needs to address. The section that he just addressed was what constitutes a majority when only 3 council members show up out of 4. Ray, that we need clarification on.
Ray, to help you, I'd like to read from statutes, Title 11. If anyone's out there want to know, this is Article 8, General Provisions of Officers, Section 8-109, vacancies in office. It says, A, when a vacancy occurs in an office of an elected municipal official, except mayor, comma, the governing body shall appoint by a majority vote of the remaining members. Now, if we go back there, you had, right, you had 4.
That's not out of the city's code.
Look, the city codes are not gonna override it upon the statutes. And if the city code says something like that, then they're running afoul of the state statutes. We got bigger problems than this.
Okay.
No, I was just pointing out that you're reading from the wrong statute.
I'm reading from the statutes, I'm not reading from the wrong statute.
Okay.
You got it wrong, sis. Let me finish, please. Okay, a person to fill the vacancy until the next general municipal election or the next biennial town meeting in a municipality. This is under cities and towns, Title 11, Oklahoma statute cited, Article 8. You can look on the section, the little squiggly line, section 8-109, vacancies in office. It's there, right at A. So if we talk about if this is a majority, if we stop there, it would be the majority of what? Those present? It does not say that. It is a majority of the remaining members. If you're minus one member, the majority is 4, right?
Is it remaining? We have 4. We have 4.
Right.
The
So
majority of 4, we could get.
it's 3.
Right.
So you needed 3 to vote yes.
I don't
You
think
needed 3 to vote yes.
Does it say how many has to vote in the affirmative?
Majority of the remaining members, you can look at this. 3 vote yes. And Ray and I have spoken about
Certainly, it
this.
can be interpreted exactly the way Ms. Williams is saying. The problem is, we went ahead and appointed her in the school, and she's now on the board. Now you gotta decide what to do. Want to vote her off?
If you talk about voter out, Ray, I'm sorry. What we're talking about is a recognition. When we recognize something has been done illegally, then I believe we owe it to the residents and all those involved to change, to correct it and move forward. How else are we going to ensure transparency and trust? I mean, we can make mistakes. Okay, mistake was made. But we recognize it, and certainly, Ms. Fair, I'm still talking. And certainly, Ms. Fair has every opportunity to run again, or if she gets voted back on. This is the deal. When you recognize something is illegal, and you sweep it up under the rug, we all become culpable with that. We all become complicit in wrongdoing. And too many times we're making decisions. I'm watching these videos. Too many times we're making decisions that we're running afoul of the law. I, for one, am not going to be under the hammer when it comes down. I'm not going to do that. And I want us to choose the best for our residents.
Okay, thank you. And this is why we have a city attorney to make sure that we don't. And when issues come up, it is his responsibility to make sure that we stay on the right side of the law. But I think Mr. Benson is trying to say something before.
I forget now. We gotta give due process. If we don't give due process, you run the risk of being sued in federal court in your individual capacity for violating the due process clause of the Constitution. So we gotta be careful about that. I dare say that I'm not sure, individual council people I know are not insured for a federal due process lawsuit. So I want to make sure that we do that. She's on the board. Certainly, that statute can be interpreted as 3 affirmative votes. And so now, what are you going to do about it? But if it takes the board now, we'll do it. We'll go off. You want to ratify the decision. It's up to the board at this point.
So in choosing yourself from the vote, that way it wouldn't be a conflict of interest, that it would correct what has been done incorrectly.
Not sure what the question is.
Would that be proper? If it's a conflict of interest.
Rosita asked me what I thought about her voting on this issue. Like I say, you probably should recuse.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
If she asked me, it's sort of sick, if she asked me, what should I do? I would say, you probably need to recuse yourself.
They can't just very well be, I mean, I understand that what you were saying, but to give someone the onus to say, I have the authority to decide and vote on myself, that's duplicitous. There's nothing straightforward in line about that. And let me just say this, we need to start talking about you in third person.
That's
Okay.
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 So,
You know, so.
So it's just like you're saying, Latanya, do you want to vote for, do you want the big piece of chicken or the small piece of chicken? You get a vote in it. I'm gonna pick that, and I'm not saying she would, I'm saying that what she is saying makes so much sense. Recusing yourself from that you would have to vote in because it directly affects you. You have a direct correlation to the outcome of something, and then you're voting on it. It makes sense to recuse. I mean,
Let me give you this. So when we voted for mayor and vice mayor, we get to vote whether I want to hold the seat of mayor, and he gets to vote, or whomever gets nominated to be the mayor and the vice mayor, and those seats come up, those positions come up, it's still, those persons still get to say, hey, in our form of government, that seat still gets to be chosen.
appointed by other people, because you didn't vote for yourself.
Yes,
So they
you
You
call-
didn't elect yourself.
You didn't elect yourself, you didn't appoint. And that's, when they said, I nominate Mayor Frank as mayor, then it's, did you vote for yourself on that? You did? That's just wild. But okay, look, but let me say this, that's a process.
Right.
We're talking about legality, this is apples and oranges. You can't ostensibly take what's going on there at the beginning of the voting for mayor and vice mayor, and say, well, we're gonna apply these tenets to this situation. This is a different situation, because we've been made aware, and I will say that, once we are made aware of an infraction, then we become culpable for that. And we talk about due process, Ray was talking about due process. Well, Renita received notification, she knows what's going on, that's what I asked him, he said yes. I said, okay, so she's well versed in the issues concerning it, I said yes, okay. That is the due process. Now, what she can do after this, I'm sure, she can say, I don't like what happened. If she's gonna not like what happened. That's the whole point. I mean, we're trying to obfuscate the law. We're trying to say that we're gonna decide the law, and we're gonna decide what we need to do. We have to stop that.
That's why we need, there's legal cases around this thing. That's why we need our attorney to do the research to be sure that Ms. Fair receives all of the.
He just told us that what I read can be interpreted, and he just said, no, listen, and he just said the majority vote of the remaining members would be 3. So he just said it.
He said it could be interpreted.
No, and he said
He didn't say that, that was all he said, it could be interpreted.
and then he said the majority vote of the remaining members would be 3.
The closest thing to this type of situation is that the statute on the condition where 50% of the board members are leaving in a 4-month period. Statute pretty clear, that you shall cease to be a member. But that's not the way the Attorney General interprets it that enough. You gotta give that person due process, you have to take board action. It's not just automatic, and so it's more complicated than, I think this is the same deal, it's more complicated, and I'm not saying the board shouldn't take action.
It's definitely more complicated, because you're talking about fruit of a poisonous tree.
Yeah, I think
You're talking about fruit of a poisonous tree. You're taking, I'm gonna take something that was illegal, and now, even though that thing was illegal, it started the whole trail, I'm going to allow it to continue. And if any of you were in court, and something had happened to you in the process that was illegal in your Miranda rights, simple Miranda rights. If your Miranda rights were not read, properly as due process, then it'd be thrown out of court completely, because no matter what they found out about you, after that point in time, everything is thrown out of court because the process wasn't followed. The process in our country is more important than anything else that we do. And again, I really thought the simple email that, when citizens pointed this out a couple weeks ago, I really thought this was going to be a very simple process. Because why else would this be difficult, other than there seems to be some intent on two members to make sure one member stays on the council. And I'm not sure what that intent is. I think that she probably has her own mind. I don't think that she can be run quite as easy as they seem to think. But this should have been a very simple situation, and two council members have decided to make this into a hold the whole city up. We don't care about process.
We're trying to
We
get on to
don't,
the
we don't
point.
care about process, and we're gonna continue doing whatever we want because we chose it that way.
But we can't just get past this. I know you just said we're trying to get to the budget. We're trying to get forward.
I think.
Because we
I think-
still have-
I think Ray, go.
But I was just talking, I was just speaking. That's just inconsiderate, because I'm very considerate of everyone.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish it.
I said, we can't just skip past this because it is an integral part of what we need to do. And it's as difficult at best, but it has to be, we have to do the right thing. Again, we stand up here, and our citizens are gonna be looking at us.
I'm not willing to vote yes until I get a written legal statement from our city attorney and from the OML to be sure that we're clear, because Ms. Fair does deserve due process.
What is due process, Mr. Scanlon? Can you
Due
describe the steps of
process
it?
means more than just our backyard lawyers sitting here, four of us behind this bench.
Well, I'm from the backyard, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm a certified paralegal. I've had a paralegal company. I've been doing it for over 30 years, but I would never tell you that I am practicing law. But there are things that are succinct. There are things that are concrete. So you're throwing stuff at me saying I'm a backyard lawyer. I don't appreciate that. I have never been rude or disrespectful to you, but I'm not going to go for it. You can do that with other people, but you're not going to do it with me.
Okay, let's get it.
Well, my apology, I did not mean it to be insulting. I'm actually just speaking general skill level on our legal knowledge. But I could think of better words, and I do apologize.
All right, let's get to, Mr. Benson, give us some guidance so that we can,
Well, I mean, we should take some of that action. And look into the council, you can make a motion to ratify the actions, back in January, you can make the motion to. That's not gonna do a more extensive legal opinion. One thing that the first thing I discovered when I kind of started looking is that I can't declare her off the council. Mayor can't just declare her off the council. No council person can just declare her off the council. As a matter of fact, I ran across a case in which the city attorney did exactly that. And got himself and the town into it. I'm not suggesting that you think you'll have to, with the city, it's trouble.
well,
But they don't, I'd like it to be resolved somehow.
well, let's do this. I'll make a motion that we ratify the appointment of Ms. Fair that was done back in January. Get a second, please.
I second the motion.
I got a motion and a second. Can I get a vote, please?
I've got a question before we get the vote, excuse me. Are we allowing Ms. Fair to vote on this?
In my opinion, she should, she should recuse herself.
Yes, but she can't accuse herself,
She has to make.
but you can't make her. Okay, so she should, but you can't make her. Got it.
Okay, can you vote, please?
Mayor Calvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
Councilmember,
She's not gonna say anything. She'll be silent.
okay. Councilmember Williams,
No.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Okay. All right, then, she's still on council. Okay.
No.
We
We've got another one. No, we're not gonna do this, because as we move forward from this, she is still gonna vote on something. You guys act like this is a circus. I am not going to threaten my livelihood. I am not going to give up my life, my house, for the decisions that were made here. But if you've gone to the training, you know that he just told you how we're individually culpable and liable
Right.
for all of these
There's
decisions.
also, there's also a provision out there, where, I think the Oklahoma State Regents were, who had a lawsuit, and the judgment was that when those regents were appointed, they were appointed under the guise of being regents.
You're not a
We're
municipality.
talking about, yeah, we're not municipality, and I think that
You're a municipality
Mr.
taxpayer.
Mr. Vincent was talking to me about that they were considered a de facto
Right.
group. That's the thing. One and the same. We do not make decisions unilaterally, and that was not a municipality. And I think applying the tenets to this, when the law specifically sets out what needs to be done, we seem to skip back over the law. It tells you what needs to be done.
Well, the principle is still the same. The spiral attack on a given domain, that way to challenge whether the Board of Regents is constitutionally legally appointed. In other words, they're not legally appointed. Supreme Court said, doesn't matter. They are there, they're de facto Board of Regents. If you want to challenge it, you can. There's a procedure in this court. Used to be like 4-1, but now it's just a regular action in this court.
It can do that.
But it's not, they didn't care about in this particular case, that particular case. The fact of the principle is, there's, I think that there's other cases and other types of situations where it's just that, de facto,
I
I
think
think
my
it's more
license.
important that you guys take her off.
We said we should take it off. Yeah, Michael Wise is there too. So, I mean, the Wise case, because I was looking at the sites that were, the Wise case, I'll show you that. That was interesting. So, we have to look at this. The Board of Regents, that's an entire entity. We are making the decision and saying that the de facto balance lands in the favor of one council member. It does not. I believe that is overbroad. I think that is reaching. And you just said you believe we need to take her off. It's like she's not even here. I hate doing that. I'm so sorry to say her. So we can't move on. Because your guys are going, ABC, you're in, let's go. That doesn't work that way. Because if we are not ratifying what happened, then that means we've got another move to do. Because if we're not ratifying it, it is still illegal. It still occurred. And we're at a point now where we found out about it. We have to do something about it. We have got to do what's right. Why are we stuck at this?
And that is the biggest question. Why can't it be just done correctly? Why two members would sit here and not do it correctly?
I made the motion to reappoint him, which was, and you said you wanted to do it right. I made the motion, Mr. Scanlon seconded, and we took a vote.
You said to ratify. You said to ratify. You said to ratify it. Ratify means to to determine that whatever it was we're talking about, that move, that decision, we're gonna say ratified, say it is legal. That's a problem, because we all are aware that it was not. And when we become aware of an infraction, that is when we are accountable.
You have to take it back to like we would have done in January. You get 2 votes no, 2 votes yes, you're still even. So you still have to make a decision here. You're saying your 2 votes of yes don't cancel out ours don't cancel out yours. The exact same, we're at the same exact stalemate. You don't want to change what happened, and you don't want to fix what happened. And we're saying you got to fix what happened because it's the law. To be answered to the citizens.
I want to be sure things are done correctly, but that is it. I want to be sure, because the term that is used in there is incredibly vague. So I just simply want some legal opinions. She was duly appointed, she was sworn in. Now, there appears to be a question about it. We need.
You just got told it was 3 votes required for yes.
You ask for, it's as if you ask for Ray's opinion, and he is giving you his opinion, he is giving you advice. But if it doesn't,
Let's just.
but if it doesn't, I'm talking. But if it doesn't fit with your goal or what you believe should happen, you are reticent to take it. He's there. He's given us this. He told us what he believed. He believes she should refuse. He believes that we should take law. He said this.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He said, I don't think
She's already got until she's taken.
No.
She said.
We'll read the minutes later.
Now, there's
He
a,
said that.
let me clarify what I meant. She's on the council, so until the board takes action to take her off, and she wouldn't have.
Make a motion to remove Renee Fair from the council.
I second.
I got a motion to remove Ms. Fair from council.
Yeah.
Got a second. Okay. Vote please.
Mayor Carter.
No.
Vice Mayor Spannon.
No.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Candidate.
Yes. I make a motion to remove Renita Fair with the intent and purpose of putting the position to reappointment immediately after the vote.
I second.
For clarity, what was your motion?
My motion was to remove Renita Fair from the position of Council Ward 2 for the intent purposes of immediately putting into a vote to reappoint.
That's fair. And when you say immediately, that's not an agenda item. I don't think we should.
It's not an agenda item that says we can't. It says take a vote to appoint with proper votes. You already didn't do that. You didn't follow the agenda anyway. That's just what I said in the beginning. It said Renita Fair issue. Discussion and action for council to take vote to appoint with proper votes. It wasn't the vote, it wasn't the motion you made. It wasn't either of the motions. The motion here was supposed to follow the agenda and it didn't follow the agenda.
Are you saying that you want to make a motion to remove her and immediately appoint her?
Immediately take it to a point and vote to reappoint. Under the discussion and action, it says to council to take a vote to appoint with proper votes. You can't take a vote to appoint if you haven't done the first step. That was the whole point. We can't putting this on the agenda didn't make sense to begin with. If you put it on the agenda like this, then you leave no choice to follow the agenda, which means in saying that, There's no reason to vote to appoint somebody if, with proper votes, if they're already on the council. Our agenda says what the intent was tonight. We didn't follow the intent, it hasn't been followed yet. I'm trying to make it fit as to what it says, but according to this, which is what I said immediately, for council to take a vote to appoint with proper votes. That's why I said you have to do something right then.
So you're inferring that part of your job is to vote for the. You didn't quite say that.
But how can you appoint if they are already part?
I see your inferring.
I typed this exactly the way the request to have this on the agenda came to me from this candidate. I copied and pasted exactly what she said she wanted on the agenda.
Yeah.
So that's still the question.
You're not wrong.
And what if it could be that simple? Can you remove her and re-sign her, or do you have to put it out for election? Can you remove her and then reappoint her? Or do you have to put it out for election?
Put it out for election.
Only for election.
I think what Ray, we were talking about that, you were saying that, since 6 months has passed,
60 days.
60 days, I'm sorry, not 6 months, 60 days has passed, then it would automatically, it would have to go through an election, right? And for,
That's the issue. That's kind of an unknown, like I said, I wish it wasn't so complicated, I wish it was only simple.
It is.
it's just hard, it's just difficult. It's simple, but it's just difficult. It's a hard thing, because you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with, expectations. You know, you're dealing with flesh. So that's the difficult part about it. You're dealing with person, people. It's simple, it's there.
What's not difficult is law, following the law. And Frank pointed out that I have voted when there was only 3 council members. That's right, and I have voted no in the past when there was 3 of us sitting there, and I voted yes right along with them on items. If I voted yes right along with them, they had the proper vote. If I voted no, my no matters. There's only 3 of us there. My no matters just as much as there are 2 yeses. Because taxation without representation is a big deal. The representation is us, the 5 council members sitting here. And when one person is not sitting here that's supposed to be representing you all, you're not getting the proper representation. I put the motion, the only motion I can think of to make.
Oh, did we get this? Oh, no. Oh, second. We get a vote on that.
Your inference is to remove her and then say that in the item. But I can see your inference.
Yeah, I wrote it to be clear.
But
I thought I wrote the agenda item to be very clear.
we would need to vote to remove her and then we would vote to appoint her with proper vote. That would be. Anyway,
But that's line of things, Ray, that you were saying, because you probably have to have an election. I mean,
I don't-
talk about
I don't
this, you were
know.
saying that.
I don't know.
It's fair to require, she could run.
It's complicated.
Not as complicated as you're trying to make it.
Well,
But this council has continued, see, this is a big, here's the reason it's a big deal to the people. If you don't really understand, in 2007, we had 2 council members who continuously didn't show up to council meetings. At that point, there was an agenda that came out. The agenda came out that said that those 2 council members and individual line items were to be reappointed to the council, much like what I wrote tonight. The wording came from the city attorney at the time. So the agenda comes out, council members come in, and the same council members who had said were to be reappointed were sitting here. And this was packed, you couldn't even move in here. People came to see if they were finally gonna be heard, because they were really mad about it. I walked out. No, I don't have to give a reason I walked out. I walked out. I left the meeting. When I left the meeting, the two council members remaining took a vote among themselves without the other two present, without the other two taking a part in the process. And they voted, they took it to a motion, and those two council members reappointed first one and then a second member. It's easy to dig up because there were newspaper articles written about it. So the people in Spencer feel like, as they keep telling me, the process is not followed in Spencer on a continuous basis. Then, a couple of years ago, the same month that I was elected, I brought it to the council's attention that one member of our council had not followed the state law written in 2005 that said, you must attend OML training by the 1-year election of your appointment. And if you don't attend it, according to the legislative body of Oklahoma, you cease to serve on the council. And that council member decided they didn't like it, so they had the city attorney write an opinion to keep them on the council. It is hard to tell the people here that they have to follow the law, basic laws, speeding, code enforcement, basic processes, when this council body has continuously found any way they could around the system to work to their betterment.
You know, maybe you're leaving out parts of your story. The emails you made to the Attorney General or other sources, and they all told you that you were incorrect on that point.
The attorney, it wouldn't matter if it was the Attorney General, it wouldn't matter if it was, our city attorney wrote the opinion, and actually it was OMAC that wrote the second opinion. But you see, if you don't follow the law and the OML says you cease to serve per what the legislative body wrote, the only people who could actually overturn that would be the legislative body. I chose, at that point, since our city attorney put himself in a position of representing what, according to state law, was an individual at that point, I chose not to do anything. Because it would have harmed the city. It would have harmed our citizens.
Okay, so clarify that, he's not talking about, right?
Well, they're part of the same.
Understand, yeah, please clarify that.
Okay, I'm willing to give your motions their consideration after I perform some more research. I can reach out to OML. I want to get opinions before I remove someone from their seat on the council. I don't want to do it in the first 3 days, well, hour of the budget meeting. So it appears we're going to be deadlocked. The question is, will we move beyond this agenda item tonight?
I don't know that we will, because moving forward means that we are actually having someone, Ms. Renita, participate moving forward in voting on the budget when it is supremely aware, everyone, that there's infractions, that processes have not been followed.
Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think it's supremely aware because I think there's been I think Mr. Vincent has said that there's some, it can be interpreted. And so being supremely aware is not the case.
I disagree with you, but you look at the term supremely.
Right. But what I know is this, there's interpretations that can go either way, whether the majority is 3 or whether the majority is 4. But at the same time, Mr. Vincent has said he doesn't, at this point, he said that we cannot, he wouldn't, I'm trying to get the word, he would not say that she can be removed from council or from this board until council votes her off. And so with that being the case, being supremely aware that there's an issue doesn't necessarily mean that there may be a disagreement on procedure or whatever, or on procedure, but that does not mean that her participation and her standing on this board is irrelevant or is illegal. There is a interpretation on both sides. And where we are tonight is this: we have an action item where it says to vote to appoint with proper votes. But in order to vote with proper votes, means you have to remove her. That's not on this agenda item. And I would caution us to remember that the priority of this meeting here tonight is to finalize our budget.
That might be yours, but it's not mine.
So with that being the case, we have to have a budget submitted to the state by 12:01, by 12 o'clock. Or at least have a budget voted with the resolution 12:01. I think with that being the case, I understand that there is concern by 2 council members about the validity of Ms. Fair's participation in this process. But we've had several motions and they both ended in deadlock. So in order to push this process forward, we've got to come off a high center on this thing, one way or the other. Whether we table the item or something, but I think at this point we got to do something. Because Mr. Vincent has suggested earlier that he would have preferred that we take this off the agenda for tonight so that we can get the budget issue taken care of. And so that, like I said, I understand from Ms. Williams and Ms. Kennedy, they would like to continue the discussion, but we've got to get off ourselves.
Well, can I just say that, Frank, to what you said? You said that Mr. Vincent, he said that there were the numbers there, and he did say that 3 is majority. And if we look at this, it said a majority vote of the remaining members. We cannot dismiss it because it's inconvenient to our purposes of what we're doing. No one ever, please, no one ever said that Ms. Fair was irrelevant. You would never say that she's, that.
But I want to clarify something. Remaining members is 4. There were 4 members.
Mm-hmm.
We had 3 here.
And 2 voted yes, 1 voted no.
I don't think it said that it had to have.
Majority vote of the remaining members.
Right.
A majority vote.
Right, but there was 3 of us. The majority of 3 is 2.
The remaining
members is 4.
There were 4 people.
And you had to have 3.
It didn't say
The
that
majority of 4, it did. Oh gosh. The majority votes of the remaining members. The majority of 4 is 3.
You got a motion and a second on this. It's probably as close to this agenda item, closer to this agenda item, any other motion is taken tonight, although it's not that deep. The motion and a second, they vote.
I forgot what the motion was, so now I forgot. What she said, what she said. My goodness.
Repeat your motion, please.
Remove Mr. Anita Fair from the council body and immediately call for a voice vote to reappoint.
Proper vote. You said proper vote, proper vote. Or appoint with proper vote.
Ms. Fair? Or who? reappoint, that's fair, or?
Yeah, I said to remove. It's the and, so that's the fair, that's the subject, that's credit, the both of them are.
I'm just trying, it can be interpreted, let's remove her and reappoint,
I said
the
reappoint.
bottled water with proper vote. Just
Well,
wanna
we
make
don't
sure.
have anybody else standing here, that's not.
But I'm just trying to.
You're arguing semantics here. You're the one who wanted to get this meeting going,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you're arguing semantics of
I
the
just wanna
bottle of
make
water
sure.
serving on the
That's-
council.
I'm just
Although I
making
can
sure.
understand why you might find that something that would be acceptable at this point. But I really think we probably need to have a human individual sitting here.
Thank you. Did you really know what was on the wall?
I want the name submitted with the person to be reappointed, not just.
I said
It's
it
just,
twice.
yeah, to call with proper votes, but even in the reading of it, Frank, I understand what you're saying, even in the reading of it, and I wasn't being flippant when I said that. We got the subject here is fair, and it gives two subject predicates there, so all of those apply to her name.
So does your motion call for one vote or two votes?
I'm sorry,
You said, does your motion call for one vote or two votes?
it'd have to be 2 votes. Because it's 2 items. That's why I'm separating, and I'm saying we're doing one thing and we're calling immediately, and I said it, and I continue it on. We do the one thing and immediately call for a vote to reappoint Councilmember Fair.
Well, you have to go to the, I think you need to give items for that. Motion to remove her, motion to appoint. Two votes.
Well,
You can't get one vote out of two, you can't get two votes out of one motion.
They did the motion to remove, it was 2 and 2, so they need to do the motion to reappoint.
no, because we can't, no,
No.
that's not it,
No.
no.
So they need to vote.
No, we did one at the beginning,
No,
no.
the motion for dead.
I'm trying to make a motion where 2 things can happen after the motion. So my motion.
So can we separate that, 4.1A? And,
Well, you want.
You've already had a motion to remove her. You've already had a motion to remove her, that kind of defeated.
That's why I changed my motion.
so we also have a motion to,
Put her on.
yeah, a motion to keep the, to ratify with that.
You've already got a motion to,
It wasn't on the agenda.
you've already got a motion to remove her.
We all agree, all right.
I don't think tonight you can continue on with another motion to remove her.
We can motion, I mean. So are you saying this is improper? Is that what I'm hearing, Ray? You're saying it's, you want to say it's improper?
You've already had a motion to remove her, I gotta see it. That was been passed.
Yeah, but we also had a motion to ratify it, and that didn't
Yeah, I
pass.
didn't pass it.
No, it didn't pass. So it's the same Cracker Jack box, right there. No problems. We're right here.
So, I don't think you can, motion that's already been, didn't pass into the new motion, kind of a combo motion.
As long as you want to chime
What's going on? Are we still,
in. I think.
are we gonna open the floor for other people to speak as well?
No, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it now, we're gonna keep it up here, we'll keep it up here, we'll keep it up here. Keep it up here, 'cause that is, yeah, it'll get complicated. So, anyway, Mr. Vincent, get us up off, like I said, because I think we tried.
I don't know why we can't do that. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think with the motion that I initially made, which was to reappoint Ms. Fair, was voted down. And then the motion to remove her was voted down, which is the two. And so it's, kind
You
of.
can't have a motion to, you can't have a motion to appoint whatever we probably vote, we should be able to remove, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you're done.
No, we're not. Because if you're gonna make a motion to ratify, that means that you already recognize that this was not done right. Because if you wouldn't have to make that motion, come on. If I'm saying I'm ratifying it, that means that I recognize, maybe not supremely, but I recognize that this was done improper. And if it was done improperly, then we need to do the right thing.
And ratify is really clear, it may not sound like a big deal, you hear the word all the time,
That's a
but
huge deal.
here's the legal definition. Sign or give formal consent to a treaty, a contract, or an agreement, making it officially valid. That's why we voted no. We're not making something valid that was invalid in January.
And you wouldn't request it, I'm going back to that, you wouldn't request it to be ratified if you didn't recognize it was invalid. The reason that we're taking this very seriously, I will speak for myself. The reason that I'm taking this very seriously is after going through this training, I did not realize, I think I said this in the last meeting, I did not realize the 999,000 reasons and ways that council members can get in trouble individually and be held liable for the decisions that they make. I had no idea the extent of the law when it came to municipalities, especially the responsibilities. So when we say yes to something, we own it. And if they come back, if anyone comes back, and if there's any kind of retribution in any regard, and they find out that this was done wrong, you said yes and you knew about it, I'm thrown into that pot. And whatever punitive damages are, I've got to pay my part of it. The city doesn't cover us. Big Ray spoke about that earlier when he was talking about federal. The city does not cover us. That's why this is a serious position. So that's why I'm fighting to not be called and dragged into court and being culpable or responsible for moving or glossing over what we have learned to be an illegal process.
I don't think, let me go quick.
I take this extremely seriously too, and that's why I'm not willing on the last minute agenda item to make this sort of decision. If we remove this fair illegally, because the agenda item is not correct, because the legal opinions weren't there, then we're again all liable to be sued. I want a firm.
So first it was that, I'm sorry, Jim, you're right, my apologies.
Just, that's it, that's my motion, that is my thought process.
I hear you. But now we're talking about the agenda item is illegal. And first we were wondering if the law that was legal was illegal. So we're jumping to
Excuse my words, man.
No,
All
sir.
I said was
I'm not.
I need more information.
I'm not. I'm just going on what you said. You said that you're looking at the agenda and you do not want to illegally remove Ms. Fair because that would be a problem. I mean, I'm adding the last part, that would be a problem. However, you're saying that's your rationale. But before you said it was that, what? You wanted to have time to think about it? When we read this to you, when it's here, it's still,
Look, I read it.
have you?
I've heard the opinions, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I've read ours, I've read the state's, and they're basically in agreement.
Which, does it say what I read, or?
It says the majority, the word is that majority, I know.
Majority, you're right, Jim.
So,
It says majority vote of the remaining members. We must not forget the entire phrase. It does say that,
It
it's
doesn't
right
say
here.
that, it doesn't say that.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't say all of it, man, it said the majority.
I can make you a copy, you can pull it up on your phone right now, that's why at the beginning I gave you the statutes. That's why I copied it, so I can give you these, so you can go to it yourself. So you would not think that I'm making up words and I'm leaving out things. This is the statute, it's specific, it's black and white, it is proscribed, not prescribed. We don't get a choice of whether or not we want to follow it. It is proscribed, and it says a majority vote of the remaining members. I did not write this. I did not change it. It is still the law.
And this is where we being hung up, or in my opinion, is the word majority of the remaining. It did not say all of the remaining, it says the majority of the remaining. It doesn't say all of the remaining, it says majority.
Remaining members.
Right, there was four remaining,
Which is four,
right, which is majority of four.
is three, exactly.
Right, but they didn't say.
So three, no, we're still talking about the majority, Ray, because he just said majority is four, we're getting somewhere. He said the remaining members is four, and the majority of four is three. It was you, Mr. Scanlon, and Ms. Kennedy. That means you needed 3 votes of yes, a majority. So if 2 votes yes, 1 of the remaining votes no, and the other one isn't there, you still have 2. It does not represent, I don't know why that's so difficult to understand. You just spelled it out, Mr. Calvin.
So, and moving forward, I think that you're going to find that, even on looking back on the things that have been voted on in the last year, that this has been a discussion in the past. And the 2 council members have continuously, with only 3 council members here, have made decisions for 4,000 people, because we had 2 council members absent, or even 1 council member absent. This is gonna change voting moving forward too, because now there seems to be gaining ground on the actual vote that's supposed to happen and not what's been happening. And when you look at the notes as to what's been happening, we've had 3 council members, and there's been 2 yeses and 1 no, and they've taken that as the majority. That's the other reason they're concerned. They're not wanting to correct it, because it's been happening.
You're speaking as if you know everyone's intent.
I didn't know the intent when we walked in here tonight, but I sure learned it about 10 minutes into it. We were looking to follow the law. That was all that was supposed to happen. It was a simple process.
But I think this has been, I think we've gone around into the weeds and come back out, and then we've gone back into the weeds. And I keep asking Mr. Benson what his preference would be. And he, at the initial start of this meeting, he said he would prefer that we table this agenda item until next meeting. But we didn't, okay, then let me finish my point. So all along, I keep asking Mr. Benson his legal opinion. I took a business law class, but that doesn't mean that I'm an attorney. That doesn't mean that I know the law. It just means that I took a class. But I depend, and I think the city depends on Mr. Benson, because this is his specialty, municipal law, to give us guidance. And so in order to make sure that we move in the right direction, that is where I have gone. And to say that I came in here with, you know my intention when I walk in here to maintain the meeting. But I keep asking Mr. Benson, what is his opinion?
I think you've already made every motion you can possibly make on this agenda. I don't know where else you could go tonight.
we determine we're gonna do it. And I too have not gone to law school, I do not have a law degree, but common sense, I do have. And we all up here have that. We all can look at this, read the words, understand what these words are saying. It is not convoluted, it is convoluted, it is clear. It doesn't take an astrophysicist to read this. And Ray does have a legal mind, he has experience. But it doesn't mean that I'm throwing away my common sense. Doesn't mean that I'm throwing away my ability to read the statutes and understand the plain writing of it and how it applies to us and how it applies to what we need to do as a council. We must look at this and we must consider that moving forward from this will come back to each and every one of us. And we are going to have to give an answer as to why we chose what we chose and how we chose to move forward. I think our residents deserve us doing the right thing. This candidate can only get called, I don't know how many she got, but I got a lot of calls from residents. And I hear the same thing repeat. My gosh, I'm just here since April. I hear the same thing repeat over and over again. They don't follow the law. They're above it, but they want to hold us to it. They pick and choose when they want to follow the law, when it's convenient. And I say, now, perhaps this time, we're going to choose to do the right thing. Why? Because we're here to serve the residents, not vice versa. We're here to do what's right for them. And it is hard. I'm just saying, this is difficult. But it does make sense. It is the law, and it is clear.
Mr. Mason, please help us.
I don't like to do, you made every motion you could possibly make under this agenda item, including a motion to deliver, which is not really on the agenda. I don't know I don't know what more you can do tonight. I'm for a motion on the future agenda to remove it, because that's not what this says.
But that's what we've been talking about, Mr. Ray. We've been talking about this, and that has been the tenet of everything, so.
And that motion that the remover really doesn't fit this agenda item. It still is denied, so then, it didn't pass, it didn't hold on it. I don't know what more we can do tonight. Do I got another motion to make?
I make a motion that we table it. I make a motion that we table it and give a better one.
Can we, can I ask this?
Yeah.
Can we ask Ms. Renita, can we ask you to repeat yourself from the budget thing as we go forward? Is that be okay?
Well, I have, as a council.
That's true, that's true. And so you do have every right to move forward, if that's your choice, because he says she can. I think it was his suggestion, they're talking about taking his suggestion. And that was his suggestion to do that so we can move forward, because we're in a stalemate.
I think his suggestion was on the agenda item that pertained directly to her, not so much as the agenda itself, was only on the agenda items that pertain to her.
Oh, okay, I understand. This is my concern. If we recognize that this is an issue moving forward, and this fair is still in this process, then we are complicit in a legal meeting, a legal moving forward, illegal actions going forward. I will not subject my life to any kind of penalty from that. You guys can do as you want to. Apparently, this is your goal, this is your forward. I'm telling you, this is serious business.
So you don't have to table, this could be put on another agenda without a motion to table. So I don't know, I don't know where else you can go.
Well, I
It
would,
doesn't really say motion to move the for the council. I see your concern now, is what about the budget? You know? Again, I didn't really say move for the council, so you can infer it, but, then if she's sitting there, it's gonna be, we obviously have a, I don't know where you're gonna get on the budget, if you need to have one. And also what, and you know, budget's gonna be amended.
we can also ask for them to give us an extended period of time if we should do it. We can also ask for that, so it can be amended, and I know you share that with me often, right? That it can be amended, we can also ask for. It can also be amended. We can ask for that from the state auditor. They will allow you room to do it because we want to make sure we do it right. So my saying that is to not let this be the reason that we scurry on from this, that we gotta put the budget, we have a timeline. It's their points, but we didn't get our information when we were supposed to at the beginning. We voted to move this forward, and the information we got still was vague. Still, and I was disappointed. What?
It's just a list of everything that was, this county asked for was provided, very extensive.
It wasn't complete. Mine, I'm speaking for myself, what I got.
You have a list of what everybody requested? Let's see a copy of that email. Is a copy of that email, please?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll send you.
No, just pass it on down here, I'll get a copy.
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm asking for the copy of that email. You just entered it into the council
the
process.
council process.
So now I'd like a copy of it.
Sure, email. It is a
I
list
think the
of
question
things
is,
that were.
why don't you have it?
Yeah, that's a good.
That's the question, why do you have it?
To have it as a council member.
This-
Because I asked for a list of the materials that were supplied tonight, to use to study for the budget. I can
That's
understand.
very interesting.
But why didn't you ask for your own? I think that this is the issue, look at this. Oh, I know. This is
I guess that's what I was getting at. I didn't ask for it.
We're on now, hold on.
You're sitting here telling me that as a council member, you violated my communication
I
to the
didn't
city
violate,
manager.
I asked
No, you
the city
were
manager
asking
for
for
a
something
list,
you
and
had
that's what was given to
you
me.
had no right to it. You had no
Well, then I
right to
shouldn't
it.
have turned it down.
Yeah,
I
you
just
had no
wanted to
right.
understand what we were given. I asked for a list, I didn't ask for Ms. Campbell's email. That's what
Right.
was provided.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really something. You have overstepped your bounds.
No.
You don't have a right to other council people's information.
I didn't.
You don't. You have no right to it. If you wanted it, you could ask for it from me.
I asked
But
for,
you don't get to ask for it. In fact, you don't get to ask what other citizens have submitted. That's the city manager's information. If you wanted it brought to the council and you thought that needed to be entered into the agenda as an agenda item, but you've taken it upon yourself to say, I need to know what another elected official is doing. Send me a list. Well, why not the list of what everybody requested?
I asked for a list of materials that
No,
were supplied to us.
You asked for one person. You didn't ask for the other, you didn't ask for what else was, asked for by other council members.
I know that this is really on the topic of the agenda. I think that's probably another record. The giveaway.
That's not right.
No,
But he introduced it when he said that. He introduced it into this forum. And so so she has every right to be concerned about that.
My
Come on
concern,
now.
my concern is not that it's a matter of public record, I'm fine with it being a matter of public record. My concern is that a council member would ask what one other council member was doing and only print out what one other council member had requested.
It's public record, so I don't understand.
Public record, okay.
All right.
Yeah, we understand implicitly.
Yes,
This is serious.
we've moved off of 4.1. So,
Have we?
I've said with the budget, we're talking, this is stuff that concerns the budget, that's what I'm saying. That this is kind of budget stuff, so I'm saying we haven't, finished 4.1. And I would really look at it, but as far as how do we handle 4.1,
I don't think it's properly on the agenda, so what we move, and I'm gonna read it more carefully. But we had that vote anyway, if it didn't pass, it doesn't really quite much matter. You don't need to table it because it can be put on a future agenda. I just don't see what more you can do on it right now. There's nothing.
And when I asked Ray about that, and when I asked her if she could recuse herself from the vote moving forward, so then we understand. I mean, I'm understanding that we have this concern here. So that's still up there.
You can ask her, and you can ask her, so, I don't know what more you can do on 4.1.
I think my concern as our legal advisor is, when this happened, is there a reason that it was not stopped then?
If I was there, I would have, yeah, no, I don't necessarily want to say that, I don't think it's anyone for that. I probably would have, should have said, we make that agree, but we can probably have those.
Yeah.
Starting on quarterback.
So thank you for that. He would have said it takes 3 votes.
Well, if I would have, I missed it.
Yeah.
I wrecked my game, I would
okay.
And we would have rescheduled the meeting and moved on.
Right. That's why I asked for this to be done properly. And if you're having a problem with it done properly, is the big problem.
Okay. We're at an impasse, and I think this suggestion is giving us instruction that we probably need to, well,
I say, I don't see what any more you can do on this agenda item. It doesn't say to remove the minister as a council person. We still voted on that. If it would have passed, I would have made a mistake, I'll let you make that motion. But it didn't pass, so it doesn't matter. That has not been on the agenda item yet. Probably, so it can't be on another agenda item, and you don't need to table it. I would table this particular agenda item because it needs to be redone. In the future, you motion to remove an interfere and motion to possibly appoint her. 2 motions on an agenda item in the future. But I don't see what more you can do tonight on this agenda item. Not that, a lot of things that you talked about hasn't really been on an agenda yet, so.
But it's been integral to what's going on.
Well, I did ask.
Yeah.
I thought I did. I had to go back and look. I did ask, I said, Ray, can you suggest we need it? I had to be sent before bond hearing. in a separate possible emergency meeting, seems like it would qualify as possible financial impact, not taking immediate action could bring financial liability to the city. Or set meeting up for 30 minutes prior to budget hearing.
So you asked, Mr. Ray, if we could set this up before here, so that we would not hold up the budget.
I was trying to make sure this was done and we were through for the budget meeting. I would have been happy to do it even at the beginning of the week. I say, now I'm actually glad that it didn't happen because I did not realize this was going to cause the turmoil that asking for a process to be properly followed through on was going to cause such a problem. But it has, which has brought a whole new basket full of issues to light.
Wow. So it could possibly affect this already. Non for it.
I think, we need to go ahead and
I don't see what else you can do, I won't mind for that.
So are we saying, and I'm gonna continue to ask, so is Ms. Fair going to vote on this? And when you say move on, there's nothing going on with this, we haven't made a decision, we haven't made a motion moving forward, it's just gonna dissipate into air? What's happening here?
we can move it to another, meeting. I think Mr. Benson said that he doesn't think we can do anything else on this agenda item for the rest of this night.
I don't know what more you can do on this item, you already have to remember. It didn't pass.
But neither did the ratification,
You want to do another vote to remember? I don't know.
but neither did the ratification, so that's still, it's
What
still here.
what motion you want?
Well, now that the council's been told what majority is, they still don't feel any differently or they don't understand it. Maybe that's what I'm not understanding, that Jim and Frank still don't understand what a majority vote is of 4 remaining members.
No, I don't think Mr. Stanley said anything about that. That wasn't him.
No, that was,
Mr. Calvin. That wasn't
I definitely said that. I definitely said that.
And so,
And so, and I do understand, I do, yeah, and so I do understand what majority means. And so with that being the case, I think the law, and from, I said the thing is this, the law does not stipulate by number what constitutes a majority. It says majority. And so with that being the case, that is the issue.
Mr. Wilson said
Right.
3.
Right.
He said 3.
Right, but
Oh,
You're changing what you
this is
wanted
what.
one thing, you wanted what the city attorney said.
Hold on. You asked me what did my interpretation of majority means. And so I'm giving you what my interpretation of majority is.
What's your interpretation
What?
after you've been
Right.
told by the city
Hold
attorney
on,
that
you
you were
said,
incorrect?
I don't think you understand what majority means. And
Right.
I told you.
I don't
Okay.
think you know.
Right. Okay, let's keep everything decent in order. So with that being the case, I'm going to, try to move us on so that, it can.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
Yeah.
You keep saying, and I'm going to take that down a little. I'm sorry. I'm coming back.
Yeah, just me.
Because if she is going to vote on this, you're saying let's move it. What are we going to do about it?
I think Mr. Vincent said that Kurt, on the action item that had her name, Ms. Fair, he said that he doesn't think that she should participate in that agenda item. He also said,
But she
and
had a
that's,
choice though.
Right, she had a choice in the action item that was specific to her. But in the other action items, there is, he's also said that she is a board member. And so her participation is still fine.
I understand, but is it legal? We have to look at, also take the totality of what he said. He said if he were there, he would advise you that it needed 3 people. That's that wonderful majority, that's that wonderful majority that we're talking
I
about.
think that's right there. But wait.
That's that majority that we're talking about. He said he would have advised you that we need, I've got,
Go ahead. But we keep getting into these wrong.
that's not wrong. You talk fighting for the rights, fighting for the law, fighting for what we're supposed to do. That's why they elected me. I'm fighting for what we're supposed to do.
All right. It passed.
The application, we go, if we're gonna play this song,
All right, yeah, this is,
we're gonna do a break dancing soon.
all right, that's my turn, just for one more thing. I can see how this is not we're not gonna be able to move forward tonight. I suggest, it's not a motion yet, that we file for an extension, allow me to check, to contact OML, just do various things so that I am comfortable with the vote, either to retain the spare or to vote her off and to vote to return her if that's so desired. But I'm pretty firm right now. It's only because I don't believe I have enough information. Once I get that information, I will be very comfortable with my vote and I will make it an informed vote. I don't think we're going to be able to get past this and move on the budget. There's going to be accusations that Ms. Bears, if she has the same vote, that the vote will be not proper. So I suggest that we file for an extension and reschedule this meeting. And by the way, I do want to follow the law.
Come on.
I've never had a city file for extension.
File for an extension, right? Motion of time.
I've never had a city do that, so I don't have to, I have to defer to what you might know. So I just don't know.
I have a question. Can I assist Mr. Scanlon? I actually got the information from OML, but I understand that you want to get the source information as well. How is it, when I look at this, I'm just gonna make a statement. When I think about what's been going on here, how there's such a reticence to look at what's going on and make decisions that are, I'm saying, yeah, they are difficult, but are necessary. I'm gonna say, and then we get this paper, this email, this is introduced. Yeah. Yes. So this, along with what you say, I hear what you're saying, Mrs. Scanlon. But I'm going, can I trust when you find out the truth? If you're gonna do what the law says to do.
Are you done?
And by, I'm sorry, sir, I was just talking. I'm still talking. Yeah. Can I trust that? And I do not want to interrupt you all, so you probably know when you're talking, I'm the first one to say, let them talk, let them talk. Because that's what this is about. I was taught in OML training that this is about discussion in front of the residents. So I'm going back to this. When things like this happen, this not only shakes the residents' confidence, but it shakes our confidence. And us being able to stand up and do the right thing when it gets hard. So I know you say you're going to go and do your research, that's commendable that you're gonna do it. But I'm not so sure, sir, from what I've examined, seen, and witnessed, that even if you find the truth, like we have here, even if we're reading straight from the law, that you would move in that area, that you would move towards that. That's my concern with this council.
I have served this council honorably, respectfully. The whole deal with videotaping these meetings is because people were concerned about closed doors. That I've been accused of social media of lying, of corruption, of twisting things. I have no reason to do that. I have a good job. I'm nearing retirement. It's nothing interests me in money. There's no risk worth spending time in jail. I'm doing this to the best of my ability. My intentions are honest and true. There is no reason for me to do any kind of twisted thing. I don't know. I've had a great reputation all my life for being an honest man. People who know me know I'm honest. And I have been hit over and over and over with these twisted accusations. And it's just getting old. I said I will do my research. I will follow the law. And that's all I have to say.
Mr. Benson, we first started out the extension on the budget. I think that is, even though that's not this agenda item, but it seems that we can't get past this agenda item.
Oh, the battery's about to run out too. Playing the video is running out. If you want a video recording of the remainder of the meeting, that may be an issue.
You get a motion to approve the budget, so I think you can.
No. I'm sorry, Ray.
There's an agenda item that says motion to approve.
Thank you, Ray, thank you. And I'm
So
apologizing.
I think it's proper to file a motion to ask for an extension to approve the budget.
I file a motion to ask for an extension of the budget.
So we're still on 4.1, so can
Now, good on.
we moved on?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's,
Yeah, but are we gonna put that someplace else to deal with?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be,
We're
we're
gonna
gonna
have
have
to
budget
for
meeting.
the next budget meeting, right?
Put what to the
4.1. This is this question about procedure.
I talked
Let's
about.
put it separately.
Yes.
I said, it's not a proper motion to remove it from the council, but as we see it on the agenda right now. We did vote on it, but, so, you don't need to table that.
okay. So
If you're gonna do a motion, you may want to say, Commissioner Whitmer, that motion to possibly order our votes, 2 motions.
So we can have it at a special, Ms. Fair is amenable to having it separate in the budget.
okay, so we need to, okay, we're gonna table 4.2, 4.4.
Okay, that's.
I'm sorry.
I thought you had a public hearing already.
No, we haven't got there yet.
No.
Are you tabling the 4.1?
No, I thought you had a meeting on the budget and you conducted a public hearing. I wasn't there.
Oh, that's right. No.
No, we never got it.
No, because we were supposed to get some documentation.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you did not conduct a public hearing.
No, sir.
Okay,
So
my
we're gonna,
clarification. So you got a motion, is there a second?
What's the motion?
we're gonna table 4.2, we're gonna come down to 4.3, which is motion to approve 2021-2022 annual budget, but there needs to be a motion to should ask for it.
No, we made it.
Oh, yeah.
You tabled it for.
I think she made the motion that we file for an extension. But read that for, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I missed your.
Are you tabling 4.1?
No, okay.
4.2, yes.
I do have a question. I think Ray needs to answer this. And this deals with the liability of the staff for issuing payroll checks if you do not have a budget approved by midnight tonight. Does that put the staff in jeopardy if you do not have a budget approved, and does it put the staff in jeopardy issuing payroll claims and you don't have a budget? And I think Ray needs to answer that, because that is a very serious issue.
I think you need a budget before you issue payroll checks. Fiscal year 2041, 2022.
But
You
then,
need a budget before you issue the checks.
but Ray, you just said you can ask for deference. I believe you can ask for time within which to do it, so there is no culpability for us when we get, yeah.
Well, you have to do that.
Yeah.
The issue is, you don't have a budget. So, you need to get a budget before you start issuing checks. You need time to do it, but that doesn't mean you can issue the checks for payroll or anything else. My fees, right?
But it's the check one.
You need a budget.
What was that motion on the floor?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear Ray's answer. Ray, did you say they can issue,
Cannot.
cannot issue payroll or pay any?
Any payment.
I heard.
I will tell you, but. So the next payroll checks going out.
You want to take a 10-minute recess while Ray confers with the council members who are still unsure about the OML ruling?
So you're holding the budget hostage over,
I'm not.
So I just need to know, am I putting down that you all are tabling the whole agenda for another, or is that what y'all finna vote on, so I know what I'm writing down here?
I was trying to, but with that negative information, we need to make sure that we continue on, I guess, we were tabling it, but if we can't table it, because then we can't move forward on the budget, then we're right back where we started 45 minutes ago.
So, I just need to know what I'm putting, like, for the minutes.
I'm trying to get the books, give you to be proper. I'm up for suggestions, Ray.
Can we take a
recess.
yeah, a quick recess? Health break. I guess we'll call it real quick. Just take a health break. Yes, I just.
I have a discussion about it.
Yeah, we can do we have a competition with them. Yeah, so he was trying to do last night. Yeah, he pulled out some of his stuff.
Yeah. I mean, just don't kind of use it. That's a lot.
That's an easy search and track.
They got mine at the surface. They got mine at the surface. Juice.
we're back in the century.
All right, we're back in session.
I've never had a city not pass a budget. Not a budget, so I don't, but I know that in the fiscal year, if you have a budget and many appropriations, should be other expenses, with appropriations from the expense. So, that's kind of off the top of my head, feeling that you shouldn't be making expenditures if they have a budget. Now, never been in this situation before, and so I'd be glad to call proper budget gurus and see what they have to say. I've never had been in a situation where a city filed for an extension. I didn't know that's a possibility. So I did, I can ask proper about it. At this point, off the top of my head, you don't have a budget, you haven't appropriated any money, and you can't make expenditures or exceed any appropriations. And so, the answer off the top of my head is no text written in the budget. Maybe there's a process for making an extension that would let you do that. I don't know. So here's our never been in this situation.
When are the checks, when is, Mr. City, when is payroll go out?
For the month of June, payroll is going out tomorrow.
So the payroll is, 15th and the 30th, 15th and the last day of each month?
No. So I think it's every other week.
Every month, okay.
So payroll, but this next payroll is based on the June expenditures.
This one week that you're running now, yes.
Before you name that for this fiscal year.
Point being that this week's payroll is still valid.
It's already been appropriated.
Sorry.
You can make expenditures in the next fiscal year that have been appropriated in the current fiscal year. That is true.
Okay, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
You can make expenditures in the next fiscal year of items that were approved and appropriated in this fiscal year.
What, I thought it had to be appropriated and, I thought it didn't have funds and it had to be appropriated for, to come from the next account, am I misunderstanding?
That's correct. Mr. Scanlon's point is that we budgeted for payroll that we're getting.
So it's already been budgeted?
We budgeted it this year, we heard it this year.
Yeah.
We don't need to check until next fiscal year, but that's okay.
Because this has already been in.
We already appropriated that.
Okay.
So then we're back to my motion of
ask for an extension, which is very, I don't know if that's a possibility.
Can you find out tomorrow, Mr. Wilson? And then-
Oh, I never, yeah. But, we'll do what?
But so we're clear, it is not going to get in the way of payroll because you just said that they've already appropriated that,
Yes.
so they're going to get their pay.
Yes.
Okay, now that was a high concern.
But that's
Yes.
that's what I think the other concern about them too is that, is it even proper that?
Make a motion and it passes, I'll check tomorrow, if that's a possibility, if not, I'll be calling somebody and saying,
Let's get it.
we get an extension,
Let's do it.
we need to do something quick,
Right.
That covers everything.
Why not do an emergency meeting?
we'll qualify for the emergency.
And that'll give me an opportunity to find out what I need to know. And then move on. One way or the other.
I'm sorry, Jim, sorry about that. Excuse me. Have our budget ever been turned in late?
I don't know,
I'm not saying we want to
I'm
start.
sitting there for about a year.
Okay, I'm not saying we want to start that, I'm just saying.
Not that
I
That
was
is
3
right.
years ago, it was. I was under the impression when the CPA stood before us and said we had no idea what numbers were anywhere and never had 10 years balance sheets. We didn't put a budget in on time, but I could be wrong, maybe it was submitted.
So where we are is, Mr. Vincent, you're gonna find out, like, this week, right away. We're clear that the staff here at City Hall with their pay is not gonna be hindered in any form. That's the clarion call here, and Ms. Aaron is gonna give you time to do your research. So where are we right now? We need to move, what do we need to do? We need to make a motion, what do we need to do?
I don't think the motion I made for it is to reset the meeting with, and ask for an extension of the budget, or reset the date for the budget hearing. Would be asking the city attorney to check on the extension process. I feel like I need 2 motions here because we still have the church item.
Yeah, and does that work for that, Greg?
I think that would work, another thing, needs to be too much. Motion is, file for an extension.
Okay, and we'll wait for your direction for recourse and moving forward with that, okay?
And if I find out that you can't file for it, no, we call for the emergency meeting.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And then you'll have the other item on the same meeting.
So
Or you have 2 meetings back to back.
So wait, so you just made that motion, so can we just vote on that, vote on the one motion?
We said,
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second.
I'd like to hear the motion again, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't my fault. But make the motion again.
We make a motion to direct the city attorney to file for an extension on the 2021-2022 annual budget.
In such process exists.
That's gonna be agenda item 4.3.
You're gonna put in there if it exists, Greg, because you said you're gonna find it out.
you can direct me to file for.
I'm gonna add that on, direct staff to proceed as directed.
Proceed as directed.
That's it.
I think your motion just needs to direct staff to file for an extension to file the budget. Now, if I find out that's not possible, tomorrow, I'll be calling you guys and say, we need an emergency meeting.
Finish that. Finish that. Don't go further.
I think your motion is to direct staff to file for an extension to file the budget.
Yeah, what you said.
Direct staff to file for an extension to file the budget.
Yes.
2021, 2022.
Well, we know we're here.
21, 22, the budget, so,
Okay. And I still second, that's easy.
I got a motion and a second, can I have the roll, please?
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Item number 4.4, 4.2, they're irrelevant because I'm going to 4.3. Item number 5, remarks and comments, Ms. Kennedy.
I don't think I can make a motion at that point, but I'm concerned about how, if we're having staff proceed as directed, how we're going to interpret 4.1 for a meeting set prior to the next budget process, so that we're not sitting right here doing the exact same thing for 3 hours tomorrow night.
So can we move back to a special meeting prior to whatever the budget is?
And I don't need to make a motion.
Okay.
I don't think.
Uh,
And I don't need to make a motion.
yeah, I think we do.
We don't.
Oh, we don't need to make a motion for 4.1 to look, have a special meeting.
We can put it, we can have that on special meeting, but at this point, I don't think we need to have a motion on it because I think we've already done that, or we've said that we're going to do it, whatever. Anyway,
So how do we know if we're going to have a meeting? If we don't, and this is me, I'm just trying to understand the process. Give me a quick school, I don't know if we're gonna have a meeting if we don't make a motion, if we don't put it in the records that we're going to have a special meeting prior to the budget, because otherwise,
prior to, you mean, like, have a special meeting for that tomorrow?
yeah, how do we know, if we don't make a motion that we're
We have
gonna,
two separate meetings,
well,
we have to have two separate
Yeah,
meetings.
we need to.
Tomorrow is planning commission meeting.
you do the minutes for that, Ms.
They'll be meeting here tomorrow.
Oh.
That's their normal time.
Well, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but as long as we do it before. I'm saying that Ms. Fair was amenable to making it separate from the budget and just like.
But if-
Councilman Kennedy.
No, I'm sorry.
That's right, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the thing is what's gonna be the fire is if Ray calls us tomorrow, say, you gotta have budget tomorrow, that's gonna get fired.
Well, we still need to make plans. We still need to
But I
put this down.
understand where you're going, but I'm saying the fire that will be put out tomorrow will be, have to be the budget and we can schedule another meeting for that, but I think the fire is gonna be the budget.
It's gonna have to be prior to this budget meeting, and that's why Mr. Scanlon asked for time to investigate.
So can we set a special meeting provided if Mr. Vincent, if Mr. Ray, I didn't say Mr. If Mr. Ray comes back and he says,
you can call me back.
you can call me Jay. Don't call me. It doesn't have to call me a Jones. It's time to go home. But if he comes back and says, okay, we have an extension of time, then that gives us the time to set this meeting well in advance. But we still have it on record that we're gonna set this meeting. If he comes back and says, time's up, you gotta do it, special meeting, boom, then we have to set this part, 4.1, prior to that budget meeting on the same day. Those are our two options, but we have to put it down that we're setting it. Yeah, no, you can call me Ray.
Call me, special or regular, and you can put, council will deal with whatever they want to on that.
Okay, so we can do it, and so that gives us options moving forward, no matter what happens. If it comes back with the positive, and we have time, then we can do that separately. Or we can decide to do it at the same time we're gonna do the budget, it just gives us time to move forward. But we need to have it in record that we're going to do that, and it's going to be a special meeting. That's just my concern. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that you want to make a motion to put 4.1 on special meeting, because I don't think the wording of 4.1 is adequate.
Okay.
But if you have a special meeting, council can vote into what they want to on that meeting.
So can we augment, like tonight, can we augment the wording and vote on the special meeting? Can we do that? Because it's still in the vein of this. Huh?
We don't need to, we just need to have the meeting set tomorrow, you get hold of us and say, we're gonna have this meeting set. The other council members have looked into it, come to the table, do that, and that can be separate even from what the budget process. Because Ray's gonna be checking into the budget process, but Ray's not checking into the 4.1 issue, that's only the council members. So it could be two different meetings. If Ray looks at it, because we have done the meeting tomorrow night, that's all right. We can still have staff directed for the emergency meeting prior to the budget meeting, which is also an emergency, or adding 4.1 item onto that agenda prior to the budget. All we're trying to do is give the council members time to look into what they were concerned about.
So we didn't have to have a meeting, like y'all had just told me, no, we don't have to have this meeting about this, because I was asking about processes, so we don't have to even deal with this. We don't have to make a motion or anything with that.
Not that, no, the motion we need to make sure of is the budget. The other one, we don't have to have a motion, because I'm not going back to that one, but if you want, it's like you're going back. I think we've got a motion in a second, and then we're going to have a vote. But no, we did have a vote, we actually did have a vote.
We had two votes.
We had the vote on one, we had the motion on the extension. I think we were actually on item 5, which was the remarks and comments, and then we went back to the agenda.
We're just trying to make sure we understand what the meeting timeline will be. Before we move any further. That was all I was trying to make sure. And if I don't need to do a motion, it's gonna be set up, understanding that that's what I expect to see. The next agenda before me will address 4.1, the council members will have looked into it, and then it will have the budget hearing either as a separate meeting or another item on the same agenda.
Prior to the budget, or prior to the budget time, or prior to the budget meeting itself. Okay.
Okay. All right, Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mark.
I think we laid it all on the table.
Thank you. Mr. Scanlon? No. She was first.
I didn't hear it.
I'm going first.
I don't think, no, I heard nothing.
She had comments, and she asked about the meeting.
I didn't hear anything.
I'm just gonna say, everybody be safe, have a enjoyable holiday, take care of your families. That's it. Item number 6 on the agenda.
Can I ask one question before we adjourn? Did anybody up here experience any flooding or anything at their homes? Yeah.
Time is 8:11. Okay.
Do you have to have a motion to adjourn?
We
didn't have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, let's get a motion.
Cecilia, we didn't have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah. she's right here. Yeah, okay. Get a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Ms. Kennedy. Okay.
I said that to prove it.
Then motion is second, vote please. We got a motion to adjourn.
Okay, well,
Ms. Kennedy. Ms. Williams, second.
Mayor Kelvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Fair,
Yes.
Scanlon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Kennedy.
Yes.
I think so.
Where, tell you something happened in the real. So